good afternoon. Thank you for attending this presentation on Speedy Entangled Photon communication. It's not a business, it's a technology. So let's go straight to it. What is it? Here we have an entangled photon emitter with lots of colors on the top, which sends entangled photons to Alice and Bob, A and B. And you will notice that A is a bit closer to the photon emitter than B. And actually, just before B, we have a strange machine, which is a photon amplifier, like an erbium doped photon amplifier. Now we're sending information. So we need to code the information when the photon arrives in A. And we code information by choosing the angles at which the photon can be detected, either theta or theta plus square angle. And we can choose also the ellipticity of the photon. Now the photon, how do we achieve this coding? Well, it's an example on how to do it. You can see the electrical field. Let's say the photon is launched linearly polarized vertical. You see E1. We go to a rotator that will rotate it by the theta angle, and then we get it to go through a pocket cells that will create the ellipticity. And therefore, you will see E3, the photon in an ellipsoid phase, which will then be measured according to two perpendicular directions. You see just above A, the photon measure. So now, how do we read the code when the code reaches B? So the entangled photon has been coded and now arrives through the amplifier. So now we have a flux of photon, which we can for which we can read the polarization using a classical polarization reader. So here we've transmitted a code, a letter. However, a lot of photons could be lost between the photon emitter and A and B. So if a photon is lost traveling to A, its entangled photon, if it arrives in B, will be polarized in a random way. However, statistically, a lot more photons will be arriving in B in the polarization that was set in A. Actually, we fix a trigger and we count the number of photons arriving. And if we see within 100 successive arriving photons, let's say 6 photons with the same polarization, we can deduct with a good probability that this is the letter that was sent. So the system is fast because coding the photon in A immediately changes the polarization of the photon traveling to B. Even though, voilà, so this is because the photons were entangled. Now we can bring in some security checks, and this is made out of 2 slides. So there's 2 ways we could imagine someone trying to, let's say, spy on the message. One would be to capture some of the traveling photons while they are still entangled, and the other one would be to amplify and to duplicate some of these photons traveling to be traveling. So if some of these photons are hijacked, there won't be enough photons arriving in B to detect the code. If the line is some photons are being copied, in fact, this will lose some entanglement, and therefore, the same way, some photons will arrive randomly polarized, and we won't have the quota for receiving the code. Now there's a second issue, is what if we have a man in the middle So here we have another photon and another source of photons sending photons to B, because of course it's difficult to check to know what's happening along the line or over free space. So what we do is that we install a surveillance box close to B, but and we make sure that the photons arrive entangled to it. So if you see the design, the beginning of the box close to B is closer to the photon emitter than A. If they do not arrive entangled in this box, which means if the signal, if the photon phase is not decided after they've reached the box, the photon will be late, and therefore this will be detected while reaching B. And then because we write down then we go and compare the exact polarization of the photons that reached both A and B. So this is, and we send a message, we exchange between A and B, maybe using the same process, but probably without this step of verification. So we send a signed message between A and B saying, oh, I got this photon arriving in this state and at this time, and this photon arriving at this state in the other time. And by checking this, we will make sure that the photon arriving in B was entangled with the photon arriving in B. It was entangled with the photon arriving in A, because the polarizations match, and as well How is the communication done? So obviously you've seen that through the conference already. Well, we can use fiber optics, 200 kilometer. So we've made some computation with we can have a 90% loss of the photon. So that's 100 kilometers times 2. And with free space, if you can shoot at precisely, you can send photons 500 kilometers away. So application scenarios of this technology is well, you can leverage your optical fiber network. You can build 600 satellites, 500 kilometer altitude, high-speed network with very low latency. And you can also link distant CPUs. This is it. If you have questions.
Any questions, please? You have plenty of time. Let me go ahead and start. Bruno, quickly, I don't know that I caught the title of your talk, Speedy Entangled Photon. What exactly was the speedy part? What enables the kind of speedy nature of your constellation?
Well, it is first speedy because, well, it is speedy for two reasons. The first one is that the photon is arriving in A is coding the photon which has already more or less already arrived in B, whatever the distance. So you spare the time of traveling information for the travel time between A and B. So that's the first reason. So it's in fact it's almost instantaneous. And the second reason, which is less interesting, but is interesting, is that because we code the photon according to the phase and the ellipticity, we have lots of more information traveling than just a simple signal.